Today, we are going to discuss error analysis. In this one, we'll be discussing how errors arise. What are the different causes of errors? Then we'll discuss how errors are represented in the mathematical calculation and in representation. What is the way in which errors can be shown there? We will also discuss what are propagation of errors. That means when we are measuring any physical quantity, in the measurement of the physical quantity, if it depends upon suppose 2 or 3 factors, we will be taking measurement of those factors. And finally, how the result of the physical quantity measurement gets affected due to errors arising in the individual terms there or physical quantities. So let's start error analysis. First, we are going to discuss how errors are arising, how the errors will be produced in any different observation. So different types of errors which are there, they are systematic errors, random errors, and gross errors. So these are the 3 basic categories in which the errors can be represented. So different types of errors, that means how the errors arise. These are like systematic error, random error, and gross error. Let's start one by one. Systematic error will be the one we know the exact cause of which. So any error we know the exact cause of which is termed as systematic errors. In systematic errors, we have instrumental error, personal error, error arising due to physical factors like temperature, pressure, etc. So let's see one by one. When we take instrumental error, these will be the errors arising due to faulty instruments with which we are taking measurement. Now, it may be due to imperfection in its calibration. It may be due to wear and tear. The instrument might not be working properly. So all these will be there in the instrumental error. Suppose you have a meter scale. On that meter scale, if we assume that we have the 100 marks of centimeter, of course, they will be subdivided into 10 small divisions representing 1 millimeter. So if you have a meter scale of 1 meter length, we have 100 divisions marked there representing 1 centimeter each. Now suppose at the time when the meter scale is being made, the printer with which it has been printed, in that there is some fault, and those 100 centimeter mark there, they have been spread over a length of 101 centimeter. So if imprinting has been done, and accordingly we have the meter scale, so there we have 100 centimeter mark spread over a length of 101 centimeter. So there will be an error there, because what you will measure as 100 centimeter, actually it will be of length of 101 centimeter. Similarly, it is possible that we may have those 100 centimeter mark spread over a length of only 99 centimeter. So then also there is error. What you will record or measure as 100 centimeter will basically be of 99 centimeter. So this is the error arising due to imperfection in the measuring instrument. Similarly, we may have the backlash error there, like you have the screw gauge. In the screw gauge, if you are turning its ratchet, then we expect that in one full rotation, it is moving through a particular distance. Say, if you have a screw gauge, we rotate it through one full rotation, it moves through 1 millimeter. But due to wear and tear in the screw gauge. It is possible that when we move it, it may not move, the screw will not move by the same amount with which it should have moved. That means if suppose I give 5 full rotations, it should move by 5 millimeter. But it is possible that due to wear and tear in that instrument, it is moving only through say 4 millimeter. We may have to slightly push it because due to wear and tear, the screw is not moving properly. When you are moving it backward, it is not coming back to the same point from where it has started. So that one will have again error there. That is the backlash error in the screw gauge, and that is also instrumental error for the instrument. So if you are taking any measurement with the help of that, definitely there will be some error. Similarly, we have the zero error there. If the zero mark, like suppose you have the vernier caliper, if the zero mark of the main scale and the vernier scale are not coinciding, in that case, there will be zero error. We call it as the zero error. So obviously, if you are taking any measurement with the help of that, the measured value will be different from the actual value. It may have the positive zero error or it may have negative zero error, due to which the final result will be different from the actual value. So all these are the instrumental errors, which are falling under systematic error. Now let's take then, what do you mean by personal error? Personal error will be there due to faulty way of taking measurement by the observer or experimenter. The one who is performing the experiment, if suppose he has a faulty way of taking measurement. For example, suppose the person is taking measurement of a barometer. So suppose the mercury level is up to this point and we have the calibration here. Now in this case, when he has to take the measurement, he should keep his eye at the same level at which he is taking observation. That means the scale calibration, mercury level and the eye all should be at the same level. That is the proper way of taking observation, so that your eye is observing the point to be observed, that means this mercury level, and this is there the calibration or the reading which he will record. But suppose if it is being observed from lower level, so suppose we are observing it from this level, this is the lower level as compared to the actual one. So here you can see, due to this direction of line of observation, the measured quantity or measured value will be more than actual one. Similarly, if he is taking observation from higher level, like this, in that case, again, there will be error in the measurement. This time the measured value will be less than actual one. And all these are arising due to the faulty way of taking observation by the experimenter. Now, another type of personal error is if someone is using a screw gauge, then while taking observation with the screw gauge, we need to put the object between the studs of the screw gauge. So suppose this is the wire and we want to measure its diameter. So we'll put the wire between the studs of the screw gauge. And if you're putting it between the studs, when you are moving the ratchet, in that case, it should just make a proper contact. In some screw gauge, you'll find that when it makes a proper contact, there is a click sound there. So the moment you heard first click sound, you should stop tightening it and take observation. But if someone is not very careful, they might tighten it hard. So if you're tightening it hard, in that case, you are basically compressing it. So the measured value at that point will be less than the actual one. Similarly, if someone is taking observation with that screw gauge and he is taking observation even when it has not made the proper contact, that means the screw was loose at that point. So still there will be error. That is the another type of personal error. This is the error arising due to imperfection of taking measurement by the observer. Next is error arising due to physical factors. Like it may be that there is a change in temperature, there is a change in pressure. So due to which the measured value will be different from the actual one. For example, suppose we have a metallic scale. So with the metallic scale, if we are taking measurement in summer season, that means when the temperature is high, in that case, at higher temperature, there will be expansion of that metal scale or metallic scale there. So if there is an increase in its length, calibration will remain same, but of course their spread will be different. So as there will be increase in length of that metallic scale, so any measurement taken with the help of that at that particular temperature will give you different value as compared to its actual one. Similarly, if suppose we are taking observation when there is a fall in temperature, say we are taking measurement in winter. In that, again, due to decrease in temperature, there will be contraction of that metallic scale. So for that, there will be difference in the measured value and the actual value. Of course, we do correction for that when we try to minimize errors. But these will be definitely errors arising due to variation in the physical factors. Similarly, suppose you have the iron slotted weights with the help of which you are taking the measurement of the mass of an object. If there is rusting there, when there is increase in humidity, there is increase in the moisture there, and suppose there is rusting there in that slotted weights, definitely any measured value of mass will be different from its actual one. So all these are there falling under errors arising due to physical factors. And these are the different types of systematic error. Let's now discuss what are random errors. Random errors will be the one we do not know the exact cause of which. Suppose you have a wire and you want to measure its diameter. Okay. Now, the wire, we are assuming that its diameter has the same value at all points. That means it is a uniform wire there. But it is possible that when it is being manufactured, the diameter may not have the same value at all points. When it has been casted there, it may not have the uniform diameter at all points or same value of diameter at all points. It is not having uniform cross section. Or it is possible that due to mishandling, there will be different value of diameter at the different points. So suppose we are taking measurement of that particular wire and we are trying to measure its diameter. Now, it is possible that at one point where we are taking measurement, if this is the diameter, due to mishandling, suppose it has been compressed. That means suppose you are using a screw gauge. If you have tightened the screw hard at any particular point while taking measurement, you are basically deforming the wire at that point. So there, suppose due to mishandling or actually in one particular direction, its diameter value is less. Suppose this is the actual one, and suppose it gets turned like this. That means the diameter has a lesser value in this direction and more in this. So suppose someone is taking measurement in this direction. Okay, diameter at that point is less, or it is due to mishandling of the wire which has been done earlier, or this is also possible that the wire might have a thinner value at that point. So if anyone is taking measurement at this point, he will not be able to know that whether the diameter is actually less at that point due to its manufacturing cause, or the screw, that is the screw gauge which you are using, you have tightened the screw hard at that point. We cannot be sure, because if anyone has taken observation, and while taking the observation, if he is observing that the screw has been tightened hard, he is not doing that intentionally. That is, of course, it is the personal error. It is the imperfection in taking measurement. He has tightened the screw hard at that point, or the screw might be loose at that point. Definitely error will be there. So at any point, if the measured value of the diameter is less than the actual one, we do not know whether the diameter is actually less at that point or the screw has been tightened hard there. So such type of errors will fall under random errors. We do not know what is the exact cause of that error there. So such type of errors will be random error. Third one is gross error. Gross error arises due to sheer negligence of the observer or experimenter. Now, what is that? Suppose the experimenter is doing experiment without actually setting up the apparatus. Like suppose if someone is taking observations in physical balance, without checking or without setting the physical balance, if he is taking observations, definitely there will be error. If he is not checking whether the pans are there on the knife edges or not, whether the pointer is pointing the zero mark or not, and he is just taking the observations or started taking observation, definitely there will be gross error there. That means there will be absurd values obtained in such experiment. If the knife is are not having the pans on that, in that case, that means the two pans have not been calibrated there, or this beam balance or the physical balance has not been calibrated. So obviously there will be error there. Similarly, if for any experiment, if he is taking observation without seeing whether there is some zero error or not, if there is zero error and he is assuming there is no zero error, he is taking observation, obviously it will have the wrong value there. Or even if suppose he has taken observations, when he is using the final result in the calculation part, if he is using wrong formula, then also there will be error. For example, if someone has to find volume of a wire, for finding the volume of a wire, he has measured its radius, he has measured its length, and assuming the wire to have the cylindrical shape, he is supposed to use the formula pi r square L. But instead of using this formula, if he uses formula like pi r cube L, definitely it is wrong. Absurd result will be there. Or he is simply using pi r L. This is also wrong. So such type of errors will be the gross error, where the results will be absurd. Okay. So systematic error is one, we know the exact cause of which. Random errors are which we do not know the exact cause of that. And the gross error, as we have discussed, that it is arising due to sheer negligence of the experimenter. We can minimize systematic error. As you know, what is the cause of such errors? We can do correction and minimize such errors. Like if you know that the instrument or the say meter scale has calibration different from the actual one. Once we know what is the error there, in that case, we can make correction for that. If you know that 100 centimeter mark have been spread over 101 centimeter, so we can make the correction that what should be the correct value if a particular value is the measured value. We can do the correction for that. If you know that in vernier caliper, screw gauge, some zero error is there, we can find out whether it is the positive zero error or negative zero error. We can do correction for that in the final result once you have taken observation. So all these systematic errors can be minimized. Random errors are the one we do not know the exact cause of which. So can we minimize random errors? We do not know the exact cause of which. Still, can we minimize? Yes, we can minimize random errors. Random errors can be minimized if you take large number of observations. That means, if suppose you are measuring the diameter of a wire, so we take measurement large number of times. So suppose if at one point we have taken measurement where the screw has been tightened, it is possible that second time it may be the screw is loose. Because if anyone is not doing that intentionally, because if someone is tightening it hard, then it is a personal error. Once we know that he is having that personal error there, that means he is the habit of taking observation by tightening the screw hard, we can just rectify that. Rectify in the sense that we can ensure that he is not tightening it hard. He is just taking the observation when it is making proper contact. But if it has been not obtained, that means if the observations have been taken and he is not doing that intentionally, in that case, if you take large number of observation, at one point if the value is more than the actual, at other point it may be less than the actual. So in that case, if you take large number of observation, you take the mean, in that case those errors will cancel out one another and you will get approximately correct value. So that is the reason why we take large number of observation while performing any experiment. So this is how we try to minimize random errors. So, and of course for gross error, we can find out where the mistake has been made by the observer and we can rectify that. So these are the different types of errors, how they arise. Let's now discuss what are the different ways in which we express errors. So the different ways in which we express errors are absolute error, mean absolute error, relative or fractional error, and percentage error. So let's first of all see what is absolute error. Absolute errors is magnitude of difference between measured value and true value or mean value. It is the magnitude of the difference. So suppose you have one physical quantity and you have taken its observations as x1, x2, x3, like that. We have all these n observations. In this, we say that absolute error is, if you just represent error, it will be your x minus x naught. X naught we are using as mean value or true value. Suppose you have one physical quantity and or any given object is there and you have taken its measurement. Now we do not know what is its true value. When you do not know true value, then we take mean value of the observations as the true value. So what we do, if you have all these, suppose n observations, then this mean value will be x1 plus x2 up to xn, and we divide it by number of observations. So this is your mean value or true value. So the error will be difference of magnitude of the measured value and the true value or mean value. But absolute error, when you are taking, it is the magnitude of this quantity. Remember that this delta x, which is your x minus x naught, it may be positive or negative depending upon at any particular point or any particular observation, whether it is more than the true value or less than true value. So it may be positive or negative, but absolute error will always be positive because it is the magnitude of the difference between the measured value and the true value. Second one is mean absolute error. Mean absolute error will be mean of absolute errors of the measurement. So mean absolute error, how we can express? Suppose we have taken delta x values, we take its algebraic sum and divide it by the number of observations. So this one will give you the mean absolute error. This will be more, means we are taking absolute error, we are taking their sum and dividing it by the number of observations. So this is your mean absolute error. Of course, if you are representing it as suppose xi, then I will vary from 1 to 10. That means depends upon for which observation you are taking the absolute errors there. Like it may be your absolute error for first observation, so it will be your x1 minus x0. Second one, it is x2 minus x0, like that. So it will be your mean absolute error. Then is your relative error or fractional error. This is the ratio of mean absolute error to the true value. So if you consider this relative error, suppose I am using delta x to represent the mean absolute error, and x is being used to represent the true value. Then this one will be given as delta x by x. That is ratio of mean absolute error to the true value. Whereas if you take the percentage error, this will be relative error expressed in percentage. Relative error or fractional error expressed in percentage, that is your percentage error. That means we can write delta x by x into 100. This is the percentage error. So percentage error in x will be delta x by x into 100. So these are different types of errors which we use to represent error in any measurement. That means while performing an experiment, finally how the final result is affected by the errors that we represent in terms of this. Let's just discuss why we are using so many different terms to express errors. Why we have the absolute errors there, why we have relative error, why we have the percentage error. Suppose any particular experiment has been given to students. Okay. Suppose 3 students are there. They all have been given the experiment to find acceleration due to gravity using simple pendulum. Okay, you know the time period of simple pendulum is given as t equals to 2 pi root over L by G. So when they are performing experiment, they will measure the length of the string, that means the effective length. So there it will be the length of the string and the radius and the length of the hook there of the bob, that they will be adding to get the effective length. So they will basically measure effective length. Then they will take what is the time period of oscillation. They basically record the time for 20 or 25 oscillation and hence find what is the time period there. So using that values, they can find out the acceleration due to gravity. Suppose at any particular place, the acceleration due to gravity is 10 where they are performing the experiment. So we are taking that value of G as 10 meter per second square. A is one student who has got the observations or the result there as 9, 10, 11. That means the student X has got the value of the experiment as 9 meter per second square. In second one, he got 10, then 11. So his final result by taking the mean value will be how much? He will get the value of G as 10 meter per second square. B is another one. His results were, it is 8, 10 and 12. So what will be the mean value? It is again 10 meter per second square. C is the another one who got the values like 5, 10 and 15. So the G is again 10 meter per second square. Now, if we are just talking about the final result, if all these ABC go and tell that I've got the result as 10, if anyone is just hearing it, the final result, or he just concentrate on the final result, what they have got from their experiment, he will get the same value because all have got the same value. But is it that they all have performed the experiment with the same care? No. A has performed the experiment with utmost care. Of course, error is there. And C is the one who has done the experiment with least care. But if you are just talking about the final result, in that case, we'll never be able to know how the experiment has been carried out. So suppose all have been told to express errors in their experiment. That means they should write what is the range in which that observations of the results are varying. So that is something like the absolute error there. So the first one has the variation by 1 unit. Okay. So he will just write it as 10 plus minus 1. That means this is your 10 plus minus 1. 10 plus minus 1 meter per second square. That means it is now 10 plus 1, that is 11 to 9. That means the variation is from 9 to 10. Similarly, the second one, how they will write his observations? It is your result, basically, 10 plus minus 2. And the third one will write 10 plus minus 5. So the moment they express in terms of the error there, now it is very much clear, although the result is same, but there is minimum error in the measurement by experimenter A and maximum in C. So with this error there, representation, we will come to know how the experiment has been carried out. This is something like the absolute error you are representing. So with that, we will be able to know how the experiment has been carried out, who has done the experiment very seriously, who has done the experiment with least care, and their results are having maximum error there. So this we get when we express in terms of the absolute errors or say mean absolute error. But suppose if absolute error is enough, why we go for the relative error or fractional error, percentage error there? Let's take another example to understand this. This time again A, B, C have been given the experiment to measure the length. A has been given a wire of length 100 centimeter and he measured the length as 101 centimeter. So how much is the error there? It is of 1 centimeter. B has been given a wire of 10 centimeter and he measured its length as 11 centimeter. So how much is the error? Again, it is of 1 centimeter. C has been given a pin of 1 centimeter. So it is 1 centimeter pin. He measured its length as 2 centimeter. Again, the error is 1 centimeter. So if you are just talking about the absolute error there, in that case, all have got the same value of absolute error. But can we give equal credit to all of them? Definitely not. We will also have to see if absolute error has a particular value, what was the actual measured value in which that error has come up. So here absolute error is not enough. A had made an error of 1 centimeter when the measured length was 100 centimeter. Whereas B has made an error of 1 centimeter in the measurement of 10 centimeter. Whereas for C it was 1 centimeter when the measurement was of only 1 centimeter. So absolute error is same. But now if you take its relative error or percentage error, so here this will give you 1 by 100 into 100, that means it is your 1%. Whereas in this case it is your 1 by 10 into 100, that means it is 10%. Here it is your 1 by 1 into 100, that is 100%. So now if you just look at the percentage error, this will give you a better picture how the experiment have been carried out. Because there, if they mention that percentage error, then it will be very clear who has performed the experiment very carefully or in which the error is least and who has performed experiment carelessly. So these are different ways in which we use errors to express how the experiment have been carried out. And that will of course give the idea that what was the range of the error there. Then we can definitely try to find out how we can minimize such errors and we can get more accurate results.